Hello. Um, this video is going to be mainly about Werewolf of London. Now, some of you might not know what I'm talking about with that movie. Lots of people um, know of An American Werewolf in London, which just so happens to be one of my favorite movies of all time. But a movie that I feel like deserves more credit is Werewolf of London, 1935. It predates The Wolfman, and people who do know of it, there is a common misconception of it being the first werewolf movie. That is incorrect. The first werewolf movie was The Werewolf, 1913, and it is a lost film, sadly. Um, if you know anything about me, which, I mean, you don't, I mean, no one's watching these videos, but in case you are, I am something of a werewolf fan. My favorite movie is The Wolfman 1941, and like I previously stated, my second favorite movie is An American Werewolf in London. But one of my other favorite movies, I don't think it's my third favorite because I like a lot of other movies, is Werewolf of London. And now, Werewolf of London, like, had a very troubled production in a way, and it also didn't. You see, there was originally going to be a movie called The Werewolf, um, starring Boris Karloff. That never got made. There was a lot of concerns that it was going to be too dark and too graphic. There was going to be a scene where the werewolf transforms in a church, like, confessional, and that was deemed like sadistic, and they couldn't ever film that then. Um, so it ended up being shelved. But then a few years later, they decided to make Werewolf of London starring Henry Hull. Now, Henry Hull isn't really a well known horror actor. He didn't really do anything in the horror world. He did mainly westerns, but I would say his portrayal of Wilfred Glendon is really good, and there's some scenes that are with his facial expressions that are oddly funny, but still pretty good. Um, But this isn't really a review of Werewolf of London, and the figures that are clearly in front of me are really the only thing that exists in terms of merchandise from this movie. Most people say it's not as good as the Wolfman, and that's where they leave it. And it isn't. It isn't as good as the Wolfman. I will give him that. But I will say it's not bad. It's actually a really good movie, and it's better than most people give it credit for. And it really deserves to have its own renaissance. And I feel like in coming years that the Universal monsters will eventually, to the vast majority of people, be forgotten. I mean, like, people are getting stupider and stupider, so like it's less likely that people are going to even revisit these classic films, and that really sucks. But that's a whole other tangent. The point is that this movie is very special, and I feel like it deserves more attention. Now, the figures I have before me are both made by Sideshow Collectibles. Now, if you're confused because you see the smaller one, Sideshow Collectibles back in the late 90s and early 2000s did offer some smaller figures. This figure right here is about 8 inches tall, and he does come with a jacket, a stand, a flower, a scarf, and a hat. I do have those. I don't think I have the stand anymore, but they're in a bag somewhere, and I didn't feel like getting them out for this video. But the point is, this figure is, in terms of like 1/12 scale, it's not quite 1/12 scale, it's more 1/10 to 1/9. Is a pretty good figure. He is old, and most people would say he is outdated, but I would say he's not quite outdated. He is a pretty decent figure, and sadly, he is still the, like, in terms of like the best option for like pricing and just like quality for a Werewolf of London figure, which sucks. Now, some people have criticized the makeup for the movie, which I am usually not one for a more simplified werewolf. I really don't like the designs in Teen Wolf the show or Teen Wolf the movie. Despite me both, I've never actually watched the Teen Wolf show, but I have watched the movie a few times, and I do like Teen Wolf. But I always felt like he looked more like a Planet of the Ape. Um, this is a very different design for a werewolf, but there's something about it that I like, and the way it's portrayed in the movie is, in my opinion, scarier than the Wolfman. There's something very sinister about him, and the mythology of the movie is that's really the first thing that ever had the full moon aspect into werewolves. It didn't have silver bullets. The Wolfman invented that, but it did have the whole full moon thing. And this figure, he's over 20 years old, so you shouldn't expect much, but the fact is, Marvel Legends was starting in 2002 or 2003, I forget, and they had a lot nice articulation. They were known for that. This figure doesn't. You can tell he is mostly pre-posed. He does have hinges in the elbows and knees, but he can't really sit down. But he does look really nice. And moving on to the other Sideshow Collectibles Werewolf of London, this figure is very, very rare and very, very expensive. This figure is in his like red nightcoat, which he wears for his first transformation. He had like a pair of like nighttime glasses. They're broke on mine. He came that way. I have the way I got him. He was loose. I got him for $60, which is a steal for this guy. It was a great deal. This guy usually goes for $300. I'd eventually like to get one in box still. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but I would. But he is a nice figure, and the old Sideshow figures are really, really good, and people need to give him more attention. I'm sorry, he doesn't really like standing. I didn't get him with the stand. I do need to eventually get him like a doll stand, but just come on, man, stand. There we go. It would have been nice if he had his like full-fledged like jacket that he wears for the most of the movie, and the hat, which kind of makes me think of Jack the Ripper, which I think they were kind of going for the movie. I could be wrong. Of course, everyone who made the movie is dead, but the makeup, the sculpt really shines with this figure. It really does look good. Um, the makeup was going to be more like advanced, but Henry Hull didn't think people would recognize him in the thing, and um, so they ended up changing it. But of course, Jack Pierce eventually got his way with the Wolfman, and thank God for that. If that had never happened, we would have never had that amazing makeup effects. But I just wanted to share this and felt like this movie deserves more credit for being a really good werewolf movie. So I'm going to leave it at that. So see ya.